In the village of Applewood, nestled amidst rolling hills and blossoming orchards, lived a man known for his laziness. He was called Thomas, but most just called him Lazy Tom. Tom preferred rest to work, dreaming to action. He spent his days under the shade of apple trees, watching clouds drift by. One particularly warm afternoon, as hunger gnawed at his belly, Tom decided to steal apples from Farmer Giles's orchard. Farmer Giles was known for his juicy apples and his even shorter temper. Tom, however, cared little for the farmer's reputation. He saw only the ripe red apples hanging like tempting jewels on the branches. Tom's stomach grumbled, urging him on. He crept into the orchard, his eyes darting around to avoid being caught. He quickly plucked an apple, then another and another, stuffing them into his pockets until they could hold no more. Tom's theft did not go unnoticed. Farmer Giles, spotting Tom's plump pockets, roared with anger and charged towards him. Tom, startled by the sudden yelling, scrambled to his feet and fled. He ran through the orchard, apples bouncing out of his pockets with each desperate step. He didn't dare look back, the farmer's enraged shouts echoing in his ears. He ran until he reached the edge of the village and stumbled into the woods, his heart pounding in his chest. Deep within the woods, out of breath and terrified, Tom came to a clearing. There, he witnessed a sight that made him forget his fear and filled him with wonder. In the middle of the clearing stood a wolf, but it was a peculiar wolf, for it walked upright on two legs. Before Tom could process this strange sight, a majestic lion emerged from the trees. The lion, with a casual flick of its paw, tossed a large piece of meat towards the two-legged wolf, who caught it deftly in its mouth. Tom watched in stunned silence. The lion, after ensuring the wolf was fed, sauntered back into the forest. The two-legged wolf, its hunger satisfied, settled down in the sun, licking its chops contentedly. Tom, his own stomach growling, thought he understood what he was seeing. God provides, he mumbled to himself, interpreting the scene with a laziness that extended to his thinking. Even that wolf, strange as it is, doesn't have to work for its food. God will surely provide for me too. With this newfound belief, Tom settled down in the clearing. He decided to wait for God to deliver his own meal, just as he had done for the peculiar wolf. He imagined a feast appearing before him, a reward for his faith and a sign that he was destined for a life free of toil. Hours passed. The sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The clearing grew colder, and still Tom sat waiting. He hadn't brought any food, confident that God would provide. His stomach, however, had other ideas. It rumbled and grumbled, a symphony of protest against his empty stomach. As twilight deepened into night, hunger gnawed at Tom with increasing ferocity. Doubt crept into his mind. Where was the feast he had envisioned? Where was the sign from God? He started to shiver, not just from the cold, but also from a growing realization that his interpretation of God's plan might have been tragically flawed. Just as despair threatened to engulf him, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was an old man with a long white beard and eyes that sparkled with wisdom. This was the village sage, a man known for his understanding of the world and his connection to something greater than himself. "Lost, are you?" the sage asked, his voice gentle yet firm. Tom, his voice hoarse from hunger and his spirit crushed, could only nod. He looked at the old man, a glimmer of hope flickering in his eyes. He told the sage about the chase, the wolf, the lion, and his misguided interpretation of God's plan. He poured out his heart, confessing his laziness and his folly. The old man listened patiently, his gaze never wavering. When Tom finished, the sage smiled, a knowing look on his face. He pointed a gnarled finger at the sky where the moon hung like a silver coin. "The night sky is filled with stars," the sage said. each one shining bright. But their light does not come from sitting idly. They burn with the fire of 1,000 suns, a constant dance of energy and purpose. Tom looked up at the stars, their distant light seeming to mock his current state. He felt the weight of the sage's words settle upon him. "You saw the lion provide for the wolf," the sage continued, his voice soft as the rustling leaves. "But you mistook the role you were meant to play. God's plan was not for you to be the wolf, weak and dependent. His plan was for you to be the lion, strong and generous, providing for yourself and others." Tom thought about the lion, its effortless strength, its quiet confidence. He had envied the wolf's ease, but he hadn't seen the true message in the lion's actions. "God provides," the sage said, echoing Tom's earlier words, "but not by dropping food from the sky. He provides you with hands to work, a mind to think, and a spirit to persevere." The old man's words struck a chord within Tom. He realized that he had been waiting for a miracle while overlooking the tools he had been given to create one. He had misread God's signs, mistaking inaction for faith and laziness for destiny. He had sought the easy path, the path of least resistance, when all along God had laid out a different journey for him, a journey that required effort, determination, and a willingness to work for the fruits of his labor. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the trees, painting the clearing in a soft golden light, Tom felt a renewed sense of purpose. The sage was gone, but his words echoed in Tom's heart. He stood up, his body stiff from the cold night, and brushed off his clothes. He looked around at the forest, no longer a symbol of his fear, but a reminder of his journey. He had stumbled, but he had also found his way back to the path. Tom returned to the village, not as lazy Tom, but as a man ready to work, to contribute, and to live a life worthy of the gifts God had bestowed upon him. He had learned that true faith was not passive waiting, but active participation in the miracle of life. And so, the story of Lazy Tom became a tale whispered among the villagers, a reminder that God has a plan for each of us, a plan filled with purpose and possibility. But it is up to us to embrace the journey, to learn from our mistakes, and to strive to become the best versions of ourselves, not through idleness, but through the dignity of honest effort and the unwavering belief in a brighter tomorrow.